Boom sauce. Welcome to another episode of the Afterwords.
We are going with this theme music. Let's go.
What's our theme
Get
music?
in the hot tub. Yeah.
I just got back to the office. So
Just another Monday morning.
this is not our theme music.
Sure it is.
Okay.
Your hat actually makes this music like money.
Very
groovy. Very
you
groovy.
need a saxophone in your hands.
Yeah,
A little guitar work right there.
that's what I need.
Yeah.
Mike Case with a musical instrument.
Oh my gosh, the world
Harmonica,
does not
maybe.
need
Harmonica,
Mike Case.
there
Yeah,
you go.
your instrument should be a sit in the pew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey Mike, on
the
this
radio.
one, you
You just listen this time.
So my favorite story. Well, I've got two, but this one, they're edging. Do you remember when Joseph Dowie? You wouldn't know this, but Joseph Dowie used to come here, and so Mike was sitting with the one time at like the Christmas sing or something, and so they're singing together, and the song gets done, and then they call the next song, and the music starts, and Joseph Dowie looks at Mike and goes, "Hey, Mike. You just listen on this one."
Indeed.
Yes.
Nothing makes you feel better than
That and just for the sake of transparency, the next time is they were together and Mike did something.
Oh,
he's like,
gosh.
"Oh my, you're Magic Mike," and I was like, "That's it, you're Magic Mike in the top of my
There
head."
we go. Yep.
Magic Mike, Candy Mike.
Oh, dude.
it's ways to get fired by
Freaky
that's my book.
deaky.
That's my book. Ways to get fired as a pastor by Mike Case. Yeah.
All right. Well, on this edition, as we see, we didn't talk sports yet, so you're fine. We're just killing time. But we have a guest in the studio. We have the one and only illustrious Alec Bean.
Good morning.
Good
Bean.
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think of your name, and I'm a big Seinfeld guy, and there's a character on there called Alec Berg. They always get Knicks tickets and hockey tickets, and so he's like, "Alec Berg, you always have such a good name, Alec Berg." So I always think of your name and go, Alec Bean. So if you watch Seinfeld, you'll know that reference, and you'll be like, "Wow, that was super funny." But if you didn't, you're like, "Yeah, I'm just going to give you a courtesy smile and a nod." So.
So, hey, Alec, if you don't mind, the one cool thing about our church is it is growing, and we have a lot of people. I felt horrible
In a good
yesterday.
way.
Yeah, I felt horrible yesterday. I went up to a couple, and I'm like, I feel like I've met you guys, and I said, I'm just sorry I can't remember your name, and they go like, we've met several times, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry, that's all I can do.
I'm your cousin, Mike.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's your Aunt Helen. Oh, okay.
Just name's not coming to me.
Oh gosh, I felt horrible. Great family and
married
3
your sister.
beautiful kids, and but at any rate,
What's
Alec,
their
if you
name,
would,
Mike?
just
Yeah,
maybe-
no, he was quick to leave that information off. Oh, you know, the cousins of the boys of my family. They're
I'm not gonna say their names on air. I don't know what their names on air. But
So you do know them, though.
I do.
Okay,
I
yeah.
do. So
It's like that SNL sketch
Yeah.
where it's like, this is your wife's best friend.
Yeah.
What's her name?
David,
Tara,
David.
Sarah.
no. That would only happen in a good conversation in a hot tub. Sorry.
Way to derail really fast.
Yeah, David. I heard you over there.
Yes, that's true.
So, at any rate, Alec, why don't you tell people, kind of how you wound up at Grace, how long you've been here, and all that good jazz.
A little family breakdown. Break
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Whatever you want to share on your family,
sure.
obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so let's see. My family, we moved here in 2001 or 2. So I was like second grade when we moved
Wow.
here. Yeah, from Danville. I was born in Danville.
So you say Danville or Danville?
Danville.
It's Danville,
Okay.
Illinois.
It's
Danville, West Virginia, right?
Danville, Kentucky. I grew
Danville,
up.
Mountain
Kentucky.
Mama. Okay. All right. Let's keep going.
So anyway, we moved over here to Mahomet, 01 or 02, probably 1 into 2 there, yeah. And then I think we started coming to Grace like right off the rip, for the most part. So have been here, what is that? 20-something years,
25?
25 years
Yeah.
now. So,
Wow.
yeah, been around for a little while. My parents moved to Florida when I kind of launched into the world.
Yeah,
so,
they did.
They were. My dad was an elder for I don't know how many years. One rotation probably.
Was it rotation? Maybe a little bit more because there was. I think he was in a term when the Indiana gig happened.
Okay, yeah, they moved to Indiana first and then Florida. But yeah, so I have a wife, Rachel Bean now, Norton. Her dad and mom and dad are Jay and Beth Norton. So they've been active here for quite a while.
Couple minutes.
Yeah, probably maybe 15
Norton's
years.
12 and a half.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe 13 because
Yep.
I was here about 6 months when they came, so maybe about
Okay.
13.
Yep. Yeah, and I was, everyone always asks how Rachel and I met, because we both went to Muhammad here. She was a year younger than me, and I was checking her out at one of the church services. So.
There you go. The spirit was moving.
Yes,
That's
yes, yeah. So we've been married 8 years now.
Nice, good save, good save.
And we have 2 daughters, a 2-year-old Lorelai, and then a 4-week-old Susanna.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
it's really good.
That is cool. So what I'm hearing is young men, if you want to find a wife, get to church.
Go to church. Yeah.
That's
Get
right.
to church. That's where a lot of relationships began, So
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely awesome. So thanks for sharing that with us. So but yeah, this morning kind of talk through the idea of Matthew 12, 1 through 8, what Jesus is saying here. And man, it's going to tie in nicely with what we're doing next week. But trying to, once again, hold back for what we're going to say next week.
Don't hold back, Mike.
Yeah. So, isn't that a song?
Don't hurt him, Hammer.
I don't know that. I don't know that one.
I don't know.
Yeah. So,
That's hilarious.
but at any rate, of course, we did lose a little bit of sleep over the weekend, but
Yeah.
I woke up, felt fantastic.
Yeah, same.
I was like, man, it's going to be light soon.
Yep.
No, it's not. And then I was like, it's still dark. And I'm like, okay. So,
Yeah.
but it was good. I thought it was kind of cool. There was an elderly couple who got here early. They thought.
Oh yeah. Nice. Yeah.
They wound up sitting in the lobby with Michelle because Michelle just was coughing all weekend. So she's like, I'm not going to sit in the service and go. So, but at any rate,
Can I just ask real quick as a side note? I'm just inquisitive poll. Yes or no? Daylight savings is completely irrational and unneeded.
it feels unnecessary.
I like the current state.
Yes, this is
how it should be.
Yeah.
My only problem with keeping it this way, wouldn't the winter time be just like, wouldn't it be dark at like 3?
No, it would be. Hold on, let me see.
Because you
Because
fall
you fall
forward.
back. You fall back.
Fall back.
So
Right. That's true. That's true.
No, yeah, and I think it would.
I
I
think
think
you
it would
have
still be
less-
light
Okay.
closer to 6.
But think about the
5 or
morning.
6.
You'd be driving to work at
Yeah,
9,
it would
and
be
it's
dark
still
until
dark.
like 8.
Yeah.
for
Right.
sure. At least, yeah.
I can deal with that.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah,
I
I like
would
it.
rather
That would be
longer
more.
in the
I think that
morning.
would create more of a fun conversation.
Yeah,
It's that time of year where it's dark at night.
seriously.
right.
Yeah.
Seriously, is it that line I shared? That springing forward is like jet lag without vacation photos. I mean, you're just
So-
like I just lost hours.
Yeah.
6 years ago, I was 7 years ago. I was interviewing at a church in Anchorage, Alaska, and they were like, "Yeah, so half the year it's still light at midnight, and guys are out mowing their lawn while you're trying to sleep, and then the other half of the year you got about 2 or 3 hours of daylight." And I'm like, I don't like that.
Yeah, no, thank you. So,
No, thank you.
I feel like that guy stole that from me because I said I've always no thanks,
Dude.
Yeah.
but at any rate, you know, in this text this week, I mean, obviously Jesus is being confronted by Pharisees.
What?
Yeah, I know. Imagine that, and
Shocking.
you know, you get the idea, especially for the text that's going to be coming up next, that
They're like a rapper.
they're heading to synagogue, right? And as they're walking along, they've been traveling. They don't have
Keep
necessarily
walking.
a place to stay. And here you go. We're walking along the road. There's some grain, a little bit hungry. So I'm
Like
gonna-
a wolf.
So Duran, and taking the
Boom.
taking the grain off the heads of the wheat and popping it in their mouth, having a little something to eat, and then heading to synagogue. You're like, okay. And to us, we're like, what's the big deal? And of course, there were
Most important meal of the day.
Yeah, that's what people who make breakfast food say. But you know, the idea here that I really wanted to push into was all the stupid man-made rules that were made up for first century Jews. But then, you know, when you start looking at our time in church, you know, Michelle and I had a really cool discussion last night in preparation for this about rules within the church that we put in place that sometimes prevents people from attending, prevents people from serving. So I mean, there's these little things that, you know, each church has a constitution, bylaws, all that stuff, and as we read through some of those, are they preventative from people experiencing the gospel or being able to share the gospel through the umbrella of your church? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so I just find it interesting. I mean, I've shared the story of going to a church. I was very young. It was in the Clearwater area, and I was just looking for a church to go to. I went. I had on flip-flops, shorts, and a T-shirt, and turned away.
Wow.
So
Clearwater, Florida.
near there, so
Okay, yeah.
Newport Richie area.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was.
I would have thought they all wore that
Right.
to church.
you would have thought, but I was looking at a certain denomination and went there, and I went like, okay, and now this was back in the, I guess it would have been 1990, somewhere around there. But I was living down there then, and
You can't come in here like that. You don't need Jesus.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I have shared that story, but that's a extreme. But some of the things that we may put in place, or some of the things you guys have seen in place that you go like, is that something man-made, or is that something we've done? Now, I'll share this. We had someone on staff here a few years ago, showed up one Sunday morning with a ball cap on and was going to go out and do the prayer time with his ball cap on. He was on staff. And I said, no. Now, is it a man-made rule?
Let me guess
Right?
who that could
No,
be.
you don't have to. But I told him, I'm like, no, you can't. There's a decorum in which we as leaders set for
Decorum.
'em. Yeah. So what did I say?
No.
Oh,
That's from a movie.
this could be a movie quoting day.
Yeah.
Paul Blart.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah.
I know some Paul Blart.
The second one.
Oh, okay. Don't know that one as well.
Yeah, when they're in Vegas. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. How
Squirrel.
yeah. So you got to catch all the Paul Blarts.
Yeah.
But
Is that what we're doing today? Is that Paul Blart Day?
no.
I can play that game.
I could not. I would fail. But at any rate, are there some rules that you got? So number one, was I wrong in telling this young man, hey, don't wear a hat? Am I teaching him, hey, there's if you're going to be offensive, because he would have been almost at that point, since I pointed it out to him, I'm like, there'd be a lot of older people in our church that would be really offended by that. And they would see it as a sign of disrespect. And so, I think there's that fine line, obviously. Like when I was a youth pastor and I had earrings, right? And when I would go to visit people in the hospital, if it was an older person, I didn't wear that stuff. I just didn't do it because I knew they weren't is down with that. And so
So when you pulled their house, you turned the white snake down, you took the earrings out.
Didn't wear the acid wash jeans.
Here I go again. Oh, turn that down.
I mean, I think
When Mike's face gets serious, he's like, I'm getting crushed on.
yeah.
I want to see
I did-
earrings,
I-
Mike.
I think I could probably still put one in.
Yeah.
But yeah, because my girls every now and then will still say I put one in. But anyways, what are some? Thank you. What are some man-made rules you guys have maybe seen within the church? And was I wrong for teaching this young man certain ways to?
I'll weigh into that one because I am one who has not taken my hat off in praying in years. But when I got here, yeah, I hear you.
welcome back to the Midwest.
And so I used to, and then I got to Iowa, and I would take my hat off when we were praying, and other guys would look at me and go, "Hey, that's neat that you do that. Why do you feel like you really need to do that?" And I don't know. This is just kind of what I was always taught as a Baptist that you do, you know.
Yeah.
But having gotten here, I always take my hat off because I know everyone else is going to. I have no reason to leave it on and have somebody go, "Why are you doing that, man? That's not
Everybody
cool."
else is choosing to walk correctly with the Lord. Is
Sure.
I've heard the comment that God cares more about an uncovered heart than he does an uncovered head, and I'm like, yeah, no doubt. But
Sure.
Ironically, though, he talks about an uncovered head in
Yes,
Scripture.
1 Corinthians
True.
11. Yes. Yeah. And so I don't think you were wrong in telling him to do that because I think it was considerate of those that would be offended by it.
right.
Yeah. But,
Well, and you got to know your culture.
yeah. I mean, when you go into a place, I mean, it's like I will become all things to all people that I might win a few. And I'm not going into certain cultures, acting, dressed, whatever, a certain way. And so understanding that the people in which you're serving, let's modify my behavior that is a non-salvation issue, right? But at the same time, if I'm told that God won't hear you if you have a hat on.
sure.
Now, I didn't tell him that. I was talking about decorum. Oh boy.
What a day
for worship that people in our congregation kind of expect. So, but yeah, I've gone back through that conversation we had behind stage, and let me be clear. He showed up behind stage at like 9:30, like from the outside, like that he just got to church.
He probably just woke up.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but don't you think too?
Didn't have
like,
time to do his hair. Put on a hat.
Yeah, don't you think like like? And I want to say this carefully. Like if we don't walk down this from a biblical argument in the sense of like doctrine, chapter, verse,
Right.
how one might conduct themselves in an ecclesiology discussion. Just from like, let's be more like a sociology discussion. When we contextualize our country, where we live, like historically, it was just a gentlemanly thing to do to take your hat
Absolutely.
off. There was a sense of respect, and in American historical church, it was a sense of reverence that you just take your hat off indoors. At home around women, but especially in the house of God. I mean, you go back and look at, like you can go back look at New England churches and they had pews and they had hat holders in the pews. So when the man got in the church, he would take his hat off, and there was a little place where they could sit their hat. They also had private heaters and some cool things. But but it was the idea was like there was a respect issue.
Yeah.
That you just as a man you took your hat off indoors in general. So how much more then would if you were indoors in the house of the Lord, right? And so I think there's there is just like a sociological, piece of it, if you will, as far as just learned behavior. But whether we agree or disagree in this day and age, my bigger question is, have we lost the idea that men are supposed to carry themselves with a sense of dignity and respect, and a sense of gentlemanly honor?
Yeah.
That, like today, it's like, dudes come rolling into, church with like pajama pants and Crocs and stuff. And you're like, what's happening with the world?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because I will say this, because I don't care. You want to wear a hat to worship. I'm not going to be offended by that. That does not bother me, and it would not make me come up to you and say, hey, you can't be in this congregation right now if you have a hat on. You show up with pajamas and Crocs on, I'm not going to say you can't be here. Mm-hmm. I think I
would agree.
And I know you would, but like there has been I think just I don't want to say more of a simplicity to people just not caring about physical appearance, so to speak. I want to say dumbing down. I don't think that's what I'm wanting to really say, but airports, grocery stores, people don't get dressed for occasions anymore. So
the relaxation of society.
Yeah. But
and I'm not saying it's bad.
but part of me
different.
thinks it is, and I think there should be some level of decorum, if we're going to use that word.
Well,
You're
the way I think about it, you are going to worship the God of the universe. Now, he doesn't care what you're wearing, but if you're going to see, even let's just put this in relative terms, like you're going to meet the president.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably not going to wear your pajamas.
It depends.
You're going to wear Depends?
No.
Oh.
It depends.
Some of them.
So here's the thing.
I'm uncomfortable.
How about this? No, I'm serious. Is the president my dad?
Ooh.
No, I'm not trying to call it, but
it's
someone actually.
It's a
that's
poor
funny.
analogy. I understand.
No. Someone actually came up to me and said that one time, like, "Hey, I noticed you don't wear a tie to church anymore. Why is that? Like, if you were going to go meet the president, wouldn't you?" And I'm like, "Well, this is the president, my dad."
Right.
And I think I was probably in the wrong heart at that time because I was mad at that person. But no, there is. I agree with you. If it's just Mike Case going to meet whichever president is president, I'm going to go have lunch with Donald Trump. Am I?
That would be huge.
We would.
You get a Big Mac.
Yes, I would. But would I wear this? Probably not, unless he was just dropping by and being like, hey, I'm going to be around. Who wants to have lunch?
It's it's an imperfect analogy.
I feel like
but I get what you're
saying.
saying.
Yeah.
If I'm having a formal meeting
Right.
with the president of the United States, am I going to show up like Elon Musk?
Right.
Or am I going to be like, you know what? I think I am. I need to dress. I went to the Kentucky Oaks, which is the race.
Nobody
before,
knows.
Oh, the race
for the Derby.
Yep. Okay.
So the Oaks
qualifier.
is the Kentucky Oaks is for the fillies. It's the Lilies for the fillies, not the run for the Roses.
Why'd you have to do
Sorry.
And no, I was invited. I was invited, and we were going to sit on Millionaires Row by this. It's by a gentleman who is very wealthy. He invited Michelle and I to.
They got a
go
place
with
called
him.
Poor Man's Lane where I can hang out.
That's called the grandstands. But
Or the parking lot.
So
whatever.
I'm up there. UK coaches are up there. I mean, all these, the governor's up there, which the governor went to our church, so that was not a big deal. But I mean, like, there's all these people there. I dressed up. I wore a suit because that was the expectation. Could I have gone and been like, yeah, showing up this way? Yeah. So I get what you're saying. I think there is we should come with some reverence to God. Right. And so I think that's the point is like what and while my heart may be right, I think sometimes what I'm doing on the outside shows what's going on in the inside. And if I'm like, if I am intentionally going like, I don't care what people say at church, my heart's right with God, I'm going to dress however I want. And I'm like, now we're talking about the wrong idea as far as your heart goes. But yeah, I think there is, gosh, we're going to say the word again, a decorum that is an expectation. I mean, because even though we can approach the throne of grace with confidence, we should approach it with a ton of reverence.
Right.
It drives us nuts.
So many thoughts.
It drives us nuts when people say, "Yo, Jesus is my homeboy,"
Right.
and I'm like, "I'm
Right.
sorry, what?" You know,
Right.
Jesus is my homie. Jesus is my buddy. Jesus is my
Right.
best. And I'm like,
So when we think of decorum,
yeah,
there should be a standard of adornment for the ingathering. It shouldn't be overly because that's sinful. That's talked about. But I think there has to be some level. I think sometimes people dress too casual. And again, I'm not being mean. I'm just saying, or like, and I'm not even saying like, oh, you're sinning or this or that. I'm just saying like how, and the reason I think that one is because sometimes I think people can dress too casual and it's either provocative and weird, you know, and so I think you have to be mindful of those things. But people understand this concept because even people that dress crazy casual throughout the year, seemingly, interestingly enough, all seem to get really spiffed up on Christmas and Easter. Yeah. So a high holiday comes and somebody's like, oh, I'm gonna pull out the suit jacket or the bow tie or the. So in your mind, what? To your point, if Jesus says, in essence, one day is not holier than the other, so how come there's a couple times a year you have this compulsion to say, I need to ramp up my dress code, but then the rest of the year, I can just kind of do whatever I want?
Pictures.
No, but that's a part of it. But that's what I'm saying. So then your reason for dressing up is less about like respect and reverence and communal excellence, if you will. It's like, well, this is convenient because it's a special day and we're going to take pictures. And so I don't know. So that always like tweaks with my head. Like, is there like, and again, some of it's generational. Like when we were very young, it was very normal to dress up for church.
Oh,
like
you wore a jacket and a tie.
And as a kid, I mean, even, you know, like when I was a young kid, I mean, I never say little and, like a polo shirt was a mandatory thing. Like you didn't tend to wear a t-shirt. I got more into high school in my rebellious era. And I think my parents were just happy if I stepped, you know, into the building. So, but, you know, there was always a sense when I was little that you put your best foot forward. And I don't think it was necessarily, I mean, I think we become very historical revisionists and we look back, oh, we were just, you know, putting on airs and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, maybe some people were, maybe, but I think other people, there was just a sense of, dude, it's the Lord's day. It's Sunday and I'm going to, you know, wear my best suit or this or that. And, you know, the church I got saved in was in a very rough part of Sacramento that was impoverished. And I was always amazed how come Sunday, people that I know lived in very economically challenging places did everything they could to be very, very presentable on the Lord's day. And I'm not saying from a legalistic standpoint, but I think they're coming back to my thing about just the gentleman thing or I just, sometimes I'm like, why did we throw the baby out with the bathwater? Like there was a beautiful sense of that, of just having a sense of it's a unique day.
Sure. I mean, the degradation of society, right? I mean, again, like you talked about, we wear our pajamas to go fly. Any number of examples we could throw out, right? But you know, I think part of this conversation, you know, is talking about the Sabbath, right? And,
we're getting there.
So it's
we're
like
getting there.
It's like they coincide with each other, right? The degradation of what we're talking about in how you dress, how you're adorned, and then also the degradation of what you do on Sunday. I mean, they go right in hand, and one may just be a bellwether of the other.
We're using fun words today.
Yeah.
We're gonna have
We
you
might
back.
we might have just had the word of the day.
Bellwether.
Yeah, I've literally never heard that word.
Really?
Yes, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just got smarter.
Well,
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can hear you getting dumber.
We are all dumber for having.
no. I want to be very careful on this because I don't care how you dress coming to
Correct.
church, right?
Yep.
And like,
Yeah, I don't think anyone's saying that.
Right,
No.
right.
And I hope that's not what's coming across.
No.
I think from a sociological standpoint, I was just posing the question: why do we think that shift has happened?
Right. I think it's just I think it's the relaxation of society.
Yeah.
Degradation, relaxation.
I'm not sure that it's necessarily. Yeah, it is a relaxation. I think it's people being tired of not being able to be real.
Sure.
I think we're at a time in society where people are like, I'm a little sick of having to wear a mask. And I'm not talking about COVID. I'm saying
I thought that's where you went. I was like,
no,
we have just
not at all.
derailed.
Not at all.
Holy
I'm
mackerel.
sick of having to be able to present myself as something I'm not when I'm on my own, And I went to a college where we had to wear a tie every day. And on Sunday, if you were going to step out of your dorm, you had to have a jacket on with your tie. Like that was the school I went to. And interestingly
That was
enough,
the least of the problems of the school.
yes, yeah, no, that was up there, But and I grew up in churches where, like, if you showed up to church on Sunday wearing jeans, they would have like found a way to come over and witness to you because clearly you don't know Jesus. You came to church in jeans today, and that's better than saying get out. But even the school I was at, there was rules against having facial hair for the faculty. They said no facial hair, and then eventually it got to like the mid 2000s, and they said, you know what? The reason why we had this rule is because in the 70s, having a beard was a sign of rebellion, and we think that association has worn off. So now you guys can have facial hair, and so ultimately, I think that there's
You're like the Yankees
there's
of Bible colleges.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think there's associations with things that eventually dissipate with time. I think that weighs into the fact that like nobody's going in suits to the boardwalk on the weekend. That used to be the norm. Like if you went out and did anything,
But
you
it'd
were
be cool
all
if they
dressed up.
did.
It
Right?
would be. We're watching. We've been watching Downton Abbey right now,
Ooh.
and I'm not ashamed to admit it.
No,
Cool
no.
show.
it's
But they're always dressed to the nines.
I tell-
Everybody is, and not the wealthy
Yeah.
people and the poor people.
I tell Chris all the time. I'm like, and because I've watched it too. You're welcome.
Yep.
And that whole era.
Sure.
I'm like, babe, I could thrive in that era. I just the 3-piece wool suits, love it.
I'm going to go find a podcast where there's men.
Dude. Well, what you should do first,
What should we talk about?
I think first you should walk over to the mirror and look at the hat you're wearing.
That's true.
And-
That's
and-
a
because the era we're talking
Right.
about, you fit right in knickers.
Yeah.
And
Payne Stewart over here. Yeah.
That's it.
and I do like your hat, but
I know what you're saying.
But no, but I Chris and I have those talks all the time where I'm like, there's something about that era of just and then people say, oh, it must have been so exhausting or this or that, and I'm like, maybe, but at the same time, there was a level of like of public respect and decency.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
But I will say, those people who are dressed up, I've not seen an episode of Downtown Abbey.
Downton.
Downton.
Anyways,
There's
So
no one
I've
named
not-
Duber McGee in there. So
You would
you're
like
safe.
it.
I've
You
not
would-
seen an episode.
you would like it.
But my guess is there's some godless acts being done by people
Absolutely.
who are dressed up.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so that's the thing, is like, no matter what we do to the outward, right?
Absolutely.
And so there is, I agree, there has become this like such a relaxation of, now I think some of that, and especially within the church, started moving in the 90s, right? Because we were seeing rules like hey, there's a certain way you have to act if you're coming to our church. And so then we went from, it's kind of that pendulum swinging, like we were so here, and now we're like, who cares about anything? And once again, I'm not, and I don't think anyone in this discussion is saying we are saying that we need to institute rules on how you dress to come to church.
No.
Right.
Now, if you show up scantily clad to a point where I'm like, probably we need to change this a little bit,
I'm
or less.
uncomfortable.
So, I don't. At any rate,
Yeah, no, I don't think we're saying let's
Right.
let's
but we're
let's
just talking
champion
about a
legalism back.
sociological ideology.
Yeah,
right now,
I
right?
guess I'm posing the question: why do you think things changed?
I just think it changed because people did grow tired of like, oh my gosh, I gotta, here's the thing: more expectations on us at the workplace. Like, we love statements. So I go back to, one of the things I talked about in the beginning, right, was we almost have we wear it as a badge of honor, the amount we work. Hey, let me show you the
Most disgusting thing.
yeah, it is, and it's like I'm braggadocious about the amount I work.
Did you feel the segue in the air?
That's a good segue.
Yeah.
Well, I think it is, because that's the question, right? Why have we become so relaxed? Well, if I've got to be, before I was at work at 6, now I'm going to start trying to get there at 5. Well, do I lose that much more sleep so that I wake up, still put the tie and get the shirt pressed and or can I wear jeans and a nice button down and a vest?
Slick your hair back.
When you're the boss,
Slick your hair
wear
back.
what
Yeah.
you want.
Wear what you want. But I think that's part of it, is like we become busier, and so the busier we want to show ourselves. And it's funny because we had this discussion through a text message thread as well with somebody in our church. Like, why does every meeting start off with, I know how busy everyone is? And I'm like, what? We wear busyness like a badge of honor. And I'm like, let's stop that. Like,
That's why I only try to work one day a week
Right.
now.
well, that's us.
I'm just setting the peace of the Lord.
That's right.
I will say it's so. I think. I mean, we're talking sociology, but post COVID, there. I've not been in the workforce that long. But I remember pre-COVID. I remember post-COVID. Living post-COVID, right? And it has become quite a bit more relaxed post-COVID. But I do know, like, my older clients. I have one in particular in my mind right now. He's 65 or 70. He was bragging to me one time about working 80 hours a week consistently. Like, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like you're, like, this is the time, and grandkids, all the stuff, it's like, this is the time of your life to be enjoying that stuff. Like,
Amen.
It is not bragging to tell me you work 80 hours a week at 70 years old.
Unimpressed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I become unimpressed, like that you have zero discipline, or that it's taking you 80 hours a week to do something
that's exactly right. It's like, how efficient are you really being?
Are you gone 80 hours or are you working 80 hours? Right.
Yeah.
So I think there's a big difference. Now we're going to get into a different conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do want to do this though, guys. Okay. We've talked a little bit on dress. What are some other rules that you think, because let me just go back through, number one, Maccabees. I hate using books from the Apocrypha, but I did. But just
There's
the idea,
historical precedent.
yeah. But the idea that there was a sect of Jewish people that allowed themselves to be attacked on the Sabbath because it was the Sabbath, and they're like, well, we can't fight back. I'm like, I don't know if that's what God meant. But some of those rules, which I think they're just funny. The 3,000 feet from your house. So how far do you place some food 2,999 feet from your house, and that way you got another 5,000 or 3,000 feet you can walk from there, I guess. I don't know. So this, not carrying a load heavier than a dried fig. How about not can't drag a chair across, but you also couldn't lift it because it was probably heavier than a dried fig. So that chair is staying put.
Right.
Yes.
You know, like I know this lady just fell down and has broken her ankle, and I would love to bring her a chair, but you know, I don't want to. You know,
You're not. I mean,
I must do holy things.
yeah,
right? We're not going to trick God,
yeah,
right? And I think a lot of that is, you know, those types of rules are there to. A lot, like you mentioned, you know, rules are meant to be broken or not meant to be broken, right? And are made to be broken. Like,
yeah.
those are really easy rules to push the line on, right? And say, well, I'm not breaking this rule.
Yeah, I find it interesting that, you know, that people would seek to honor the man-made rules of the Sabbath to the point where they were not rested on Sunday. They wake up on Sunday and they're exhausted from like the rules they had to follow in order to remember God and make it holy, make it a holy day. It wasn't a holy day. It had become a
Holy moly.
a holy moly day. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So, but that's the thing is, like, when we come to church, I don't like, look, man, if it's been a rough morning, it was a long night, whatever, like, you get to church, like, worship with your family. We understand. Like, your kid's hair isn't combed. Trust me, by the time they leave Grace Kids or Grace Littles, their hair's going to be a mess anyway. So, I mean, what's the big deal? You know, let's put, I find it funny. You know, my granddaughter's at that age where she could wear shoes, and Megan's like, I am not messing with shoes for her right now because she will just throw them off and we will lose one. And plus, I always found it funny. Like, you can buy baby shoes and they're like $80-$90.
Oh yeah.
And they don't even walk in them. They're just an
Just so
accessory.
you can talk about how cute your kid's shoes are.
Yeah.
Lorelai wears shoes about 2 hours a week.
Yeah.
And that's at
church. By the way, Michelle asked Rachel, she's like, I want to know where you got those shoes for Lorelai, because, you know, we're buying those shoes for Daisy evidently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's talk about rules of when the wife decides we're spending money and when we're not.
Yeah.
It's on the grandkid. We're both in agreement.
Now on the flip side, right? That I think that's a good discussion piece of, you know, like, what does, you know, Sunday look like for the average parishioner, right? And we have to be careful, right? I mean, people argue, well, Sunday's the new Sabbath. I'm like, you know, it's the Lord's Day. Yeah. So, but I think you can say, I choose the Lord's Day to be a day of rest, right? So that we have to get into the discussion about the day of rest and what that looks like. And so I know, like, when I was a young Christian, before, you know, going into ministry, I remember loving to be at church, right? And I just couldn't get enough of it. And just because I love the people, I was so excited to be saved. And then I remember about a year into my Christian journey, admitting to myself, one thing was that I was tired. And part of it was our church was, at the time, our church fellowship was about 45 minutes away from where I lived. It was a hall. And so we would drive over there to get there early for the 9 o'clock service. And then we'd stay and help at the 11 o'clock service. And then by the time you blinked your eyes, you got out of there. It was 2 o'clock, sometimes 2:30. And then you had night church at 6. And so then there were Sundays where Crystal and I were like, well, do we drive 45 minutes home to spend a few hours at home to drive 45 minutes back? So sometimes we go sit at a restaurant and then, like, eat and hang out and talk, and, like, it was good. You'd fellowship, but then it was like, I guess we can head back to the church, and it'd be like 4:30, and then, you know, there'd be people there, and you're like, oh, let me help you do this. You clean the pews, and then church was at 6, and then, you know, sometimes I would go to 8:30, and then you get home, it's 9:15, 9:30, you go to bed, and then, like, Monday punches you in the face because you got a job and life, and I remember, you know, but then it was like, well, Wednesday nights we got this, and Thursday nights choir practice, and pretty soon, you know, you're spending a lot of time at this property. Yeah. But which I didn't mind, but I remember somewhere along the way, like Monday morning reflection, you know, telling myself, I don't feel like Sunday is a day of rest. I feel very tired. By the time I get up Monday, like I feel like Sunday was a very, very, very long day. Now, I might have felt different if I, one, didn't have to commute so far and just went to one of the two services. And then if I opted to come back Sunday night, but I had a longer sense of rest and balance throughout the day and a nice lunch with my family and got to nap on the couch like everybody else or whatever you do when you're trying to find a sense of rest. And so I think that there has to be some sense of that today of understanding if Sunday is the day that I'm calling my day of rest, how do I incorporate worship and fellowship? And because I don't think rest has to mean doing absolutely nothing.
Right. Well, I'll give you this example from this weekend, and I made mention of it to Andy on last Monday at staff meeting. I worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Normally I take Fridays off, try to do my best, but I knew there was a few little things I needed to clean up for Friday. So I came in Friday, met with a couple of people, and then I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to go shed hunting. I'm going to go walk. I'm going to go this is going to be some me and God time and take my dog out and let him run as he's getting older, like trying to just get him some exercise, and stopped and visited with the people who own the farm that I hunt on, and had a great little visit with them. Got in the car, came home. Michelle and I literally made the decision that we were not coming to the night of worship, which felt hard. Like, I don't want to make that decision, but yet at the same time, I'm like, we had not really had a lot of connection because my last 2 weekends were bed builds and all that. And so I rested Friday. Now I was out doing stuff, but that was my rest. I mean, like I felt so good Saturday morning coming in and doing forage, and then, Saturday night we celebrated my nephew's 18th birthday, and that was fun. And, Sunday I got here and I got to teach Sunday school and I got to preach. And then right after church, we had a meeting. Andrew and I had a meeting with the family. And then after that, I went and delivered a couple of beds and then came back and did FPU. I feel rested this morning, but I rested Friday and not sitting around doing nothing, but doing things that energize me.
A mental break. Yeah. I mean, I think, from one perspective, you have the, again, I'm going to take it back to sociology, but we don't work 6 days a week in America, right?
No.
So we have this Saturday, and if I'm like most people, we're doing house chores, we're doing projects, cleaning the yard, whatever, hanging. Maybe this Saturday we went for a hike, and that's that I love that. We love that as a family. Yeah. But and then Sunday rolls around, and you're like, okay, this is the day of rest. What is restful? And I've tried to, in my life, I've really tried to not do any sort of business work on a Sunday. Yeah. I'll do yard work. I'll work around the house, which I don't always love, of course. Right. But I really tried to not. I don't look at my email. Yeah. This past December, we kind of had a something fall through at work, and I had to go last minute to Texas. We had a contractor basically duck out on us, so I had to go to Texas to finish the job, and I was in Texas working on Sunday. And what I've noticed about when you work on a Sunday is that you roll into Monday, and it's like it's an extension of like the last week. There's no clean break, right? And like I've got buddies that do like side jobs on the weekends, right? Trees, whatever, and like they do a lot of work on Sundays. And I'm just like, how do you put in an 8 or 10 hour day on Sunday and then roll to work Monday and not just be completely burned out? I don't know how that works.
You could do it for a while,
and I have.
Oh, I know you have.
It's like I remember back in the day, like being in the ag business. You have periods of extremely busy times and periods of extremely dead times.
Yeah.
And the fall, it's not hard to work 7 days a week in the fall.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't.
Right.
We've made that conscious decision that we're not going to work Sundays.
Yeah. I will do that on Fridays. And that is kind of my day of like, if you're reaching me on Friday, don't email me. I just say that, like, you text me. And if you're 100% needing me, an email would be the worst way to get it, even though I have access to it on my phone. I mean, here's the thing. I think we create this false sense of importance. Let's see how important I am. Right.
Yeah.
I was gone 3 Sundays in a row last year. Felt horrible about it, as far as like, oh man, I've had to miss, and 2 of them were vacation, and I had not taken 2 Sundays off in a row for vacation. Now I still get mad over the fact that I had COVID and Andrew said I couldn't come back the second Sunday, but we're still fighting over that. But yeah, I love being at church, but at any rate, I was on vacation, and then my mom got really sick on it, and
She get the sugars?
Yeah, I wish that would have been what it was, but it was a pretty significant event that happened to her, and at any rate, so I missed that next Sunday even after vacation. I mean, it was after an elders meeting, and then came home, was in bed, get the phone call, and I'm like, oh, and so got up. I was preaching that Sunday, supposed to, and called Andrew, and I'm like, hey man, can you help me out? And he obviously did. But and the reason I guess I'm so careful on this idea of rest is I was that guy. I never called myself a workaholic, but at some point when my wife sat me down and she's like, you need to choose. Is it our family or is it your ministry? And I'm like, well, when you say my ministry, then that makes it sound like it's a God thing. And so, yeah, I mean, I've got to do, what do I do? I mean, this is what I'm called to, but yet I'm married. And it was a great conversation. And thank God she was smart enough to say, snap out of it. And it wasn't like I was exhausted necessarily. I love what I was doing. But when your wife says, hey, you need to pay attention to us. And yet I knew in my heart, I'm like, there's no one in this world I love more than my 3 gals, right? My wife and my 2 daughters.
Well, that hurts to hear, Mike.
Yeah, well, don't be hurt. But no, I absolutely,
Facts.
I'm crazy about them, but yet it wasn't showing it. And so I think we can get into that either the mode of, man, I feel I get satisfaction out of doing my work.
Or you can't get no.
Yeah. And why wouldn't I be getting satisfaction out of the fact that, because I used to say it out loud and yet I wasn't living it. I was like, if I have 1,000 kids in my youth group and they all come to know Jesus and they all wind up going on the mission field or in the ministry or something like that, and yet my 2 kids in my home don't know Jesus, I'm a failure. I'm a 100% failure at that point. And so I'm like,
well, you don't want to sacrifice your family on the the altar of ministry.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And
so,
a lot of people do that. And
100%.
That's why we have the little jokes like, oh, he's a PK, or, it's like, well, how come pastor's kids are a mess? Well, sometimes it's just because dads are not present because...
It's because they hang out with elders' kids.
Yeah. So, but you talk to a lot of kids that say, why don't you like the church? Because the church took my dad from me.
Yeah.
Because... my dad was never home, and then when he was home, it was a phone call, it was a this, it was a that, I have to leave again, this, or drama, or, just, and sometimes this guy's not shielding their families well, talking too candidly in the living room, just all the things, and you have to be very careful, but yeah.
Don't do that.
No.
Don't talk bad about the church in front of your kids. Don't talk about your hurts. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I did not share that stuff, and I rarely even shared it with Michelle because... Michelle's got a little fiery.
Yeah. But I think, to what Bean's pushing into, I think sometimes we pride ourselves on dysfunction. You know, and so we champion the very things that are hurting us as positive, right? You know, whether you're chasing status or money or like we pick all the dysfunctional things, and you know, I've had many talks with guys that are very successful, very wealthy, that don't know their kids, you know, because they burn their kids so much so long, right? That it's just like, and I always think you're going to grow old and be a lonely dude, right? You know, and so I think, you know, that's men like that are, we could say high achievers. If they're not willing to put men in their lives, iron sharpens iron. If they're not willing to listen to men that say, you might be successful in these areas, but you need someone that loves you enough to say, but you're failing in these other areas and you need to find balance. You know, because I find that, you know, most people are willing to let you burn your life down in the pursuit of achievement. You know, and if achievement, I'll take something. If achievement comes at the, you know, the external endowment of what the West values as successful, then it's like people get a pass. And all of a sudden it's like, well, that wasn't unhealthy. That wasn't dysfunctional. That was just hard work. That was just, you know, nose to the grindstone, and you're successful. And so as a Christian, I think we have to have the ability to say, do we have healthy rhythms? You know, and I think, and you have to be aware, you know, like, because there can be seasons, you know, you start a company, probably caking in the hours early on because you don't have a choice. You know, it's just because there's more work than there is time. It's not like, you know, and the trick is, can you shift gears when you're hard work and it has developed fruitfulness? Can you shift gears and balance out, or do you find that you thrive on the drama? You know, when I first came to Grace, you know, I was in my senior year of seminary. So walking into a new church and some of the unique challenges that were waiting for me here at Grace, and then trying to finish up my last semester of school, and then be attentive to my wife and my kids, and just moving to, you know, a new state. Grandparents are now out of the picture, right? I mean, it's like, there's a lot of moving parts. And I was probably working 70, 80 hours a week at the church. I was showing up very early, and I was in my office a lot. And it was a lot of, you know, trying to understand things, the knock on the door when you're in the middle of work. Hey, you got a minute? I want to introduce myself. And, you know, an hour conversation that took an hour away from the thing you were trying to do. And, and I say that not as like a badge of honor. I say that as I've used that to kind of counsel guys and say, look, you might be in seasons like that where it's just, there's just a lot of mess and hard and long meetings. And, but at some point you have to figure out how to turn the corner. At some point you have to figure out how, if you're in that season, even, how do you balance, you know, so like for me, you know, if I had to do a bunch of reading or this or that, a lot of times I'd take a book and I would go sit at Joshua's baseball game or baseball practice, and I'd sit in the chair and he'd see me, and like Crystal and I'd make the joke, like, you know, if Josh wasn't hitting when they were up, I didn't care what the rest of the team did. So I would speed read as fast as I could, as much as I went, you know, and she'd be like, hey, Josh is coming up. And I'd stop and I'd scream out, hey, you know, and I would do, but, you know, and then if he was pitching, I'd be like, okay, I don't take the book to this game. Or his practices, a lot of times I would drive him to practice and I would just sit in the bleachers. And then when he got into practice mode, he's not paying attention to me. So then I would read or do some things I need to do. So that for me, that was just even the ministry of presence. Just wanted my kid to know I was present, that I was a part of his life. And so you can find ways to pick your spots, but I guess if you as a leader, and I think this applies to men and women, if you're going to be a leader and you're going to do high achievement things, you have to learn how to balance life and because if you lose your family in achievement, you failed. You know, because God's not going to look at you someday and say, "Well done, my wealthy amassing servant." What is when we think of the whole line, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," how would God define good? How would God define faithful? So when we start to think about Sabbath rest, when we start to think about these things we're messing with here, how do we find balance in our lives, and how do we, even if we have not been successful in certain aspects of this, how do we make sure that we teach our kids to do better than we did? And those are conscious choices, right? I mean, I left California in part because I was working basically 2 full-time jobs, and I was never home. And I remember thinking, if I stay on this path, I'm not going to know my kids. And to Mike's point, I mean, I was basically full-time at a church, which you can justify, dude, I'm serving the Lord. And my day job was I was teaching full-time at a Christian school. Dude, I'm serving the Lord. So you can lie to yourself and say, I'm doing all these things for the gospel, and then torture your family in the process. So it's easy to justify success and growth and monetize what we think achievement is. But I think in God's economy, you know, family has to have a higher value than financial resources and things. Some of the, you know, I want to throw the ball out into the middle of the crowd and kick it around. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but some of the best families I've ever interacted with didn't have money. And I'm not saying that's a universal principle, but I'm saying a lot of times the families where the dad was just an average guy that made a decent living, and maybe the mom worked a little bit, but they had a good balance of like, hey, we don't live in the nicest house, we don't have the nicest cars, we don't get to go on the cool vacations, but we get to spend a lot of quality time together. We live, we laugh, we love, we do experiences together. You know, I have often found many times those to be the very happy families.
Mm-hmm. Now that we know that you've been reading all those signs that are at
Live, laugh,
love. The little signs that people put in their house, blessed and gather and live, laugh,
in this
love.
house we laugh.
Yes. We do have one sign in our house that says, "In this kitchen we dance."
Oh, okay.
So and we do. That was the big thing. Our we always danced, but.
To the song.
I said we danced in our kitchen. So you will not see me dancing much outside.
Get out of my kitchen.
Yeah. But
I will remember that next time I'm at your house, though.
Yeah. As soon as you step into the kitchen, you're just forced to.
Yeah, it's like an automatic thing. Yeah, I don't know, and without trying to disagree, I think it's, whether it's a wealth issue or whatever it is, I think it's a balance issue.
I'm saying it's a prioritization issue.
Yeah. What I will say is, there are good families that you look at and you go like, wow, they've prioritized well. Maybe they've done well in their businesses, but man, their kids love Jesus, right? You see someone who, maybe their finances aren't as good, and I'm like, they've prioritized Jesus, and you can go either way on that, right? And I think that's the biggest thing is like when what we have to begin to see, I think, through some of what Jesus is teaching his disciples, who are obviously listening to what he's saying, and the Pharisees trying to get them to understand what being a citizen of the kingdom of God is, that the rules that we have for conduct in our relationships with one another and our relationships with God should not trump the idea of compassion for that person with the gospel. And I think that's the part that can get lost, right? And so, I want to So did we have devotion night? No, we didn't. We didn't have a rule of this is the night we're reading devotions. Did we read to our kids every night before bed? Yeah. Was it a set time? Not necessarily. We lived on a routine more than we lived on a schedule. I think
that was a pithy saying.
Well,
I meant that in a good way.
Yeah, I think we had routines, but we were not so scheduled that like this is. Well, if
you had rhythms, man.
Yeah, if you're not reading at 7:00, you're in trouble, right? So we didn't do that, but like let's have these rhythms, these routines, within our relationship with God and with our relationship with others. Gosh, it's so hard to stay away from next week. I brought up the thing of rules being made to be broken. I don't like that saying, is what I was trying to say, but yet I understand that there are rules that need to be broken sometimes. And so especially man-made rules.
Well,
and so,
right.
Yeah. And even, I mean, here, I can really throw a wrench in this. Rahab, she lied.
Yeah.
And yet God honored her.
Yeah.
And saved her family. Right.
Well, Dave. Yeah. I mean, you had you brought up the story of David.
Yeah.
Taking the priest bread. He was lying.
Yeah.
Was he not? When he went to that priest, he said he's on a special mission from Saul. Mm-hmm. No, you are running from Saul.
Yeah.
I didn't want to spend a lot of time in that part of it. So that's what the Afterwords is for. But yes, you're running. You're not on a special mission. So I mean, I mentioned he was running from Saul before I started reading the passage.
Right.
But yes, David did lie to get fed. So yeah, it's a weird thing, right? So there are times when we understand the rights and wrongs of how we are to conduct ourselves, but within our relationship with God, right? So you go Nazi Germany, if you were hiding a Jew and you were asked, anybody here? And you said no, were you dishonoring God? I would think not. Well, I know not, right? So, there are rules, things we need to do. But if we are so strict on following the rules that we lack compassion towards others, right? And lack compassion towards God's creation.
Yeah.
That's not a good place to be.
Yeah, I had a college professor who would always say these two things to us, and this is kind of what he lived by, and I've tried to live by the one. He said, don't let anything rob you of your joy. Mm-hmm. And the other thing was, nothing you have to do is more important than people. And I've always kind of said, okay, if there's anything that I have that I'm doing and somebody else comes along and they need me in that moment,
right,
I stop what I'm doing, right?
Oh yeah.
And I think the Sabbath became a thing that they felt they had to do.
Yeah.
To make God happy. And when somebody comes along and needs compassion, or needs help or any of those things, you stop what it is that you think you have to do to do those things, because people are more important to God. You know, than
the Sabbath was created for man.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's interesting. Like, Sabbath was really God saying, you will function best if I give you this rest.
Yeah.
Please just do it. And they're going, oh, it's this thing that I have to do. It's this heavy burden. It's this chore that now I have to do, or else God's going to get mad. No, he made it for you because it's going to help you function at your best.
Should be the easiest thing.
Yes. Yeah. It shouldn't be a thing to do. Like, it becomes this major chore when God says, don't have any chores.
Yeah. I won't mention the book or the author because the dude wound up going off the deep end. But several years ago, I was reading a book, and just talking through some spiritual disciplines, and one of those was rest. And the challenge was stay in bed as long as you can. Wake up and then just stay in bed as long as you can. And I remember the first time that came up, and I'm an early riser. Not that I'm happy about it. I just am. I think there's a beauty to the morning. I have a good rhythm with that. So the first time I tried that, I stayed in bed till 6, and I was like, yeah, this felt pretty good. The next time I tried it, I was in till 7. Then I stayed in bed till 9:30 one morning. And then all of a sudden, everything in me was like, oh my gosh, I feel guilty that I'm doing this. And I'm like, okay, stop it.
Yeah. I remember being, as a kid, a lot. I mean, I woke up early a lot when I was a kid. My grandma was a nurse, and she lived with us for a while. And so it's like sometimes she'd get me up at like 4, some crazy stuff. But so that continued throughout my life. And I remember this is funny, like this is just coming back to me, being like so guilt-ridden about like on a Saturday morning if I slept until like 8. I'm like, half the day's gone. Like, how as like a 10-year-old, like that's pretty messed up.
I've squandered the day.
Really, no, really, I'm like, I've squandered the day. You know?
Yeah. No, I think there is that it's the discipline of being able to rest, because, and once again, we put this back into the sociology aspect of it, or society aspect of it. You're lazy if you rest. You're lazy if you, and I'm like, no, I'm trying to understand that God has given me, I don't want to say necessarily a command, but God has given me a good way to live, right? I often look at the commandments and I go like, okay, if there was, I hate this argument, but I'm going to say it anyways. If there was no God, would the commandments still be a good way to live your life?
Right.
And I'm like, I think so. When I think about the stresses that come from a lie, the stresses that come from stealing, all that, and then you go like, well, what if I did work, 24/7? How good would my life be at that point? And I wanted to hit that real quick. I 100% agree. There are seasons where you're working 60, 70, 80, hopefully at the end of that season, you can go like, okay, I had to run for a while. I mean, you could look at it as men at battle, at some point, but yeah, then, so I'll say this, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I know my hours. I try to track them. But I worked 73 hours 2 weeks ago. And last week I put in a little more than 40. And this week I'll put in right at 40. And then the next week I might put in 20. And if people are offended by that, I'd be offended. So right. I will probably play next week a little bit because I should mentally, and my wife should see me a little more. I'm probably going to not go to some meetings that I would normally go to, not schedule as many things with other people. And so, yes, I think there are seasons where you are going to do more, right? And so I 100% agree with that. But, man, if you don't come back and say, man, I've stolen, I'm giving back, right, from my family, then you're really not.
Well, you just got to find the baseline, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you allow, hard hours and chaos to become normative and baseline to where you think, I have to do this. This doesn't work if I don't do this. And again, there's certain things like, because somebody was like, well, gee, what about like a farmer? Like, yeah. But here's the reality. Farmers have busy times, and then they have less than busy times.
Yeah.
Because, and again, not in a mean way, but it's like once you've harvested once, you're either sitting in bins or you're waiting to take it and sell. If in a good year, maybe you redisced your fields and maybe you got crazy and limed them or something. But I mean, you hit a point where you're like, well, I've kind of done what I can do. I cleaned the tractors. I've looked things over. But I think that's a healthy thing, right? As a farmer, you should be able to, at some point in January, to be like,
heading to Florida.
yeah. And I have a lot of farming friends that do that, right? And I have some guys that are younger because of how farming, for instance, has changed a little bit. And they go, well, in the slow season, I do a little side hustle work.
Right.
But it's not like, it's not the high demand of farming.
And that is actually really hard from a mental perspective too.
Yeah.
That switch is really hard because, that's the industry I'm in. And, you come off of, now my winters are a lot more busy than they used to be. But, you sit there, fall is wild. You're working, and you might get shut down the first or second week of December. You're going from 90 miles an hour to literally nothing is happening December 10th or whatever the day is in December until March 15th or whatever in the spring. And so that getting started back up, that's actually a really mentally hard thing to do.
I wonder if teachers go through that.
I would have to think so.
Yeah.
12 weeks off or whatever in the summer.
Yeah.
And,
So now I think my daughter's looking forward to it. I mean, this is her first year teaching, so she's like, summer.
Yeah.
So
it's tough. You do have to, when you're a teacher, you do have to, kind of a few weeks out, right? You got to get, if you're doing it right, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I know a lot of teachers, there's their version of summer is not what people think it is.
No, they're picking up a second job.
Right.
Or just like, even if you're not, like, whatever summer is, I mean, by the time kids get out of school, there's usually some shutdown time of things you're doing and turning in. But then, like, like when I taught, it was like 3 or so weeks out. You find yourself over in the classroom. You're thinking about some things. You've got your new lesson plan books out. You're looking and thinking,
no,
and you're kind of puttering. It's a different type of work versus the instruction, the grading, the teaching, the reading. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine, like, when I was a teacher, like, ignoring it until the day before, and
that'd be me.
and usually, usually a week out,
That's why I sub-taught.
Yeah, I mean, a week out, your principal scheduling meetings. You're starting to talk through some things and set some, check your rubrics and all those things. What are your goals for the year? But the point being is, it is different though. There's a time in there where you really get to kind of not think about the fact that you're teaching, which is a wonderful feeling. And then, like, a harsh reality hits you as you see the horizon line, and then you putter, and then day one, you kind of like mentally tell yourself, here I am again at 6 straight classes of checking kids in, and it goes from nothing to something really quick.
So I've been thinking a lot about this lately. I don't know why, really. Maybe it's in preparation for this conversation, but
boom.
What did work look like in biblical times? Post Industrial Revolution, unionization, whatever. We have 8-hour work days, 5 days a week. We get 2 days off, and obviously the Bible says work 6 days, rest the 7th. But what did a work day look like? Was it
sun up to sundown?
Up to sundown, and so, like, also the speed of life. So like when the Bible says to work 6 days a week, I'm like, okay, well, like, what does that really mean? Like, are you're tending your livestock, probably, right? Yeah. Like, so that's work, but shoring is not a full day job. It's like you're working.
But the rhythms were different.
The rhythms were different. Again, it's the seasonal thing. And so, like, I just wonder if we're trying to apply the biblical theme to a society, obviously that's way different.
Revolutionized culture.
Right. And so, like, again, was it an 8-hour day or was it a 12-hour day? Was it like, hey, I've got 4 hours. All I've got to do is chore the cows today. Yeah. Like, you're working.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But I think it's like, because you got to think like just large pictures. Just think of some of the biblical narratives in your head. So if you're doing sheep,
Yeah.
you know, there's certain parts of your day where in the heat of the day, you're tucking them into the shade and you're just watching them, but you're just sitting there. You're in part resting.
Correct.
Because you're just making sure they're safe, right? And there's times of the day where you're walking and you're moving them to, you know, and seasonally you're moving them to the green pastures. Like, but it's like you go back and look at like just the aspects and like, yeah, even farming, you would say, okay, there's seed time and harvest. You know, there's a time to sow, there's a time to reap, right? The Bible gives us all these senses of seasons, but even in farming, there's argumentative like a time you don't farm. And, you know, I always think like the fact that when you look at seasons and the days got shorter, they didn't have TV. When it was dark, it's dark. Right. I mean, that fundamentally changes your life. If you're living in a situation where it's like all you've got is the oil lamp,
Right.
I mean, you're not. I don't think you're staying up
You're
crazy
not,
late.
You're not cranking out TPS reports.
Yeah.
By candlelight.
Yeah, or watching it for that matter, right?
Right.
So, I think they had some. Even though we might say, yeah, in some ways their days were longer, rhythmically,
Physically harder.
Yeah, because agrarian culture is. But I think when you think from a rhythmic standpoint as well, like, isn't it interesting? You think like in the summer, your days are longer. Well, you tend to work longer in the summer. But like when the winter comes, like if it's dark at 4:30 and you live by oil light, I mean, you're probably going to bed a lot earlier. You're going to eat, you're going to do a few things. And then, and I just wonder if like they had a just a better sense of natural rhythm of like, because there wasn't blue light and iPads and, you know, let me go read and, you know, for a couple hours online or this, it's like, you know, you might, you know, read a little, talk a little by, you know, oil lamp. And then it's like, well, it's pitch dark. Let's go to bed. And nothing, you know, especially like undeveloped, you know, biblically undeveloped cities. You wanted to live inside the city gates because that's where you had some sense of safety and patrol. You weren't out. If you were out, that was even more of a reason, whatever you were living in, you know, a shepherd's cave or whatever, be more mindful of protecting yourself because everything nefarious happened in the dark. It wasn't safe. So I don't know. I just sometimes I think, I think they worked very hard. They walked a lot more. It was just a more physical life, which is probably a healthy thing.
Oh, absolutely.
But I often wonder on the flip side, I think they probably had a greater appreciation of rest in certain ways, you know, and you know what I mean? Like, cause you think of other cultures that have like siesta and things like that. Like when I did missions work in Venezuela, you know, it was like, they had a really, really good idea of lunch, right? I mean, it was very different than I was used to. So we would get up early and, you know, sunrise, you eat breakfast, you get out you were building a church, you grind. And then you was like, you'd eat lunch. But for them, it was like, oh, no, like we eat lunch. Like they might hold out to about 1 o'clock. They're like, oh no, we eat. And they're like, we'll come back. We'll come back here around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock and then work till dark. And I was like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, it's kind of like we rest in the afternoons. This is what we do. And so it was like, but us as proud Americans, we were like, there was a group of us like, yeah, we don't do that. We're here to work on a missions trip. Like whatever your rhythms are, bless your heart, we're not doing those. And so we worked through all the siestas and we just worked and they were like, oh man, you guys work so hard. And you know, I look back at that and I'm like, I think we missed the opportunity to experience the culture of siesta a little better, you know? And,
I think once again, I think it goes back to kind of what you just said it. Like, nope. We're prideful.
Absolutely.
American exceptionalism, right?
Yeah.
And because we had a goal and we were like, dude, we are getting this goal.
I remember I was in college.
American exceptionalism.
I had started,
I like that.
You know, Lincoln. I was home for the summer. Had a few houses I was going to roof, and I roofed houses by myself and realized after the first house I did, you know, this is summertime in Kentucky. No.
Yeah.
But that I was, you know, in the, of course, I didn't have like air tools and stuff like that. I mean, it was just me and an apron and a hammer and my 1979 Chevy Love in a trailer. And so I'm roofing these houses. I had roofed this one house and realized, oh gosh, man, once it hit like 11:30 and I'm on that roof, I'm scarring the shingles. So I would roof the house until 10 o'clock. And then I would come back at like 6 o'clock as it's starting to get cool. And I'm like, so I worked at a car wash in between. But like, I'm like, yeah, I can get a lot done when as it's starting to cool off and stuff like that. And, of course, you're roofing a house and it's still hot, but yet maybe there's shade now that's coming. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's wonderful. And so then I started like, I did 4 houses that year. But it was really kind of cool because I started then noticing when the sun up, do this side, do the east side in the morning, do the west, do the, I'm saying
rises
that wrong.
In the east,
yes,
sets in the west.
West side in the morning, do the east side in the afternoon, and it really became pretty nice to do things that way. The only problem was when roofs were facing north and south.
Just getting cut the whole time.
It's going to be bad.
Yeah,
always.
I'm just going to be on the south side.
South
Pray.
side?
Yeah, pray.
Oh.
God, don't. I think
That's work.
Yeah, it is. But you know what I'm saying is like I learned something through that of like I could actually work a lot more. There's a very successful man used to go to our church. He's moved. We were just meeting in my office one day, and he's like, "You need a blanket for your office." I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Every now and then, it's just like you get tired in the middle of the day." He's like, "You need to take a 15-minute nap," and he's like, "I take a 15-minute nap every day." This dude is like super successful, right? And he's like, "I take a 15-minute nap every day after lunch," and I'm like, sounds wonderful.
I've got a couch in my office.
But what if someone sees me? Yeah.
Right. But that was it. And so one of my favorite moments, it was just one of those late days, and I was here, wintertime. So, and it was close to Christmas. And I'll say the name, Mike Beret was
What
like,
a wonderful time.
oh gosh, yeah. So Mike Beret had called me and he says, "Hey, I'm going to drop some stuff off for the church." And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, I'll be here. He didn't really give me a time, but I mean, I was just getting tired, right? And it's dark outside, and I'm like, I just need a moment. And so I laid down on my couch. I was there for like 10 minutes, and I'm done, right? And hey, I didn't mean to wake you up while you were napping. No, man. Like I wasn't like, I'm like, yes, I was napping, but
I guess this is what you do.
Yeah. So this is what pastors do when they're at the office. Turn that off.
What?
We are not playing Christmas.
I thought it would help the story.
Christmas music. There we go. Yeah.
No, he did drop off a large Christmas tree. So love you, Mike Beret, if you're listening.
Mike
Miss
Beret
ya.
moved to Tennessee.
Yeah, great man. So, but at any rate, so no, like we're gonna overtalk this. It's just bad timing. We're celebrating Resurrection Sunday in like
That's
3
right.
weeks. So let's.
Hey, that doesn't diminish the incarnation.
Oh boy. All right.
Incarnation.
So I know we don't want to keep Alec the rest of the day, but any last thoughts?
I don't know if anybody else felt this, but I would think probably. I felt pretty convicted when you talked about how we wear busyness as a badge of honor. I'm sitting there going, I feel like I probably answer that question when people say, "How are you doing?" with busy way more than I should.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping others felt that too and said, rest is good. And for us to just continue to say, "Man, I'm so busy," is really, it's a humble brag. in a lot of ways. At least for me, I feel like it can be. And so I just came away from yesterday going, man, why do I wear this as such a badge of honor? So
Yeah, in the last year, I guess I'd say I have been getting more and more busy with adding in kids and businesses and stuff. And I've been really convicted or attempting to remedy that. And so I think like we had hit on a point where, you know, if you're working 80 hours a week, but you've been doing that for 40 years, how efficient have you been? So, you know, I've been really on this mission to cut things out that are not accretive to business, family life, whatever, you know, and like I think that's probably just a natural thing that happens when you do start adding in kids and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been really trying to guard my time. Mm-hmm. And you know, we could easily turn this into a business podcast, but like not everything you do is worth your time.
Right. Yeah, that's
know, and so like
great.
that's part of like the busyness thing is, yeah, I could be a whole lot less busy if I wasn't the one running the bank and post office.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's very smart, very wise. Like, yeah, not everything is worth your time. By the way, I just want to say, I hope you guys feel honored to be sitting across from two men who knew how to have daughters and do it right. So, you know,
There you go.
Alec right here.
I have a daughter, not daughters. But
Right. Sorry about your luck. Oh my gosh, it's
Great.
wonderful.
It is wonderful.
I tell you what, though, you talk about a softening, and you probably felt that too when you.
Oh yes.
I feel like I have the manifold blessing of God, so I don't understand.
I think all of us equally have hit the lottery.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah. Just Alec and I.
Well,
maybe
A little bit more, a little bigger Powerball.
Until it comes to weddings, let me just say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again, you know, you only have two. You have a chance to have more than two.
Sure.
So
I'm just, we're just gonna make a little army. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
instead of old twofer over
Yeah.
here. So.
Yeah. Well, we wanted more, so
Yeah.
I'll say
Yeah.
it like that. But at any rate, no, I think where I'll just land on my whole overall thought of this was I hope people learn to actually rest, not to make it ceremonial. You know, find what it is that you do rest doing. Like I said, I walked a little over 4 miles on Friday, and I felt rested. So I walked a little more than 3,000 feet. But there's an absolute joy in rest. Let's not be so prideful about our busyness. Let me tell you how much I work. Andy, thank you for being honest.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious, because I think within the ministry, and so I will go ministry here, I've not worked with many guys who don't like to talk about how busy they are.
Sure.
And it's like I think there's a piece that we are busy. There's another piece of what does society think of us?
Yeah.
They do think we work one day a week.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, because
and
I
so,
think that's a point, right?
yeah.
Yes.
So
Not,
people will
not,
say
to,
that.
not to start the flame back up, but there is a humble brag.
Yeah.
But I think also there is a fear factor to it, where when people ask, we want to be like, "Oh, dude, smoking busy all the time."
Right.
Like,
Right,
you
yeah.
know,
Right.
because
Well,
Especially when-
justification.
yeah,
When your
because
income is from
Yeah.
The
people
that-
giving to gospel work, and you're
Yeah.
going, I better be about it.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know.
That's
Yeah.
what someone asked me after the sermon. They're like, "Yeah, you know, so like one day a week." I said, "No, it's all day and a half."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I like to overachieve a little bit.
Yeah.
So
No, I think I think more people probably need to admit that. Like, and I'm trying really hard to go like, oh my gosh, I had such a good week. You know, and you know what? If people don't see what I do, fine.
No.
I'm not. So is my ministry to please man, or is it to please God? And I would say that about any of our work, right? If the main goal as a Christ follower of any work is not to still find a way to bring honor to God, then you're missing the mark.
your job is to
100%.
please Andrew and God.
There we go. Yes.
Yeah. If man is pleased by what I do to honor God, that's icing on
Great.
the cake,
There
right?
you go. Primary,
So,
secondaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I would just, I would just encourage you guys who are listening and those who are sitting in this room of like, I'm happy when Andrew will call me and say, dude, I'm just going to take some time with Crystal. I'm like, good. You're not needed anyways. And I don't mean that.
That's a true story.
And it's not in a mean way, but I'll say maybe something like that.
Not in a
like,
mean way.
Yeah. It's like I've said this 100 times about the ministry that God has allowed me to work in. If I die tomorrow and God wants to continue this ministry, guess what? He will.
Right.
If tomorrow never comes.
I know. So I like country music. So I don't.
I
like
feel
Garth
a whole
Brooks.
different podcast coming
So
up.
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So yeah, just find more
Gas or pass.
Yeah, find more joy in the rest that you can have, and kind of how Paul was telling the Romans. Whatever day you want to choose, just make sure you're honoring God. Whatever foods you eat, make sure you're honoring God. So I think there's the forefront of our mind should be, how am I pleasing God, right? And if we want to go, I say this word wrong all the time, anthropomorphic, maybe.
And
Do I want
anthropomorphisms.
to
Ascribing human qualities to animals.
Is it?
Or
God.
Biblically, we
Yeah,
would say
yeah.
ascribing human
like the right
qualities to
hand of God,
Right, sure, right.
So you would say you're being
Yeah.
anthropomorphic.
grieving. That's a different topic. So, all right. So,
Dude, you're about to open the can of worms.
yeah, I am.
Yeah.
So,
Because is the emotive concepts anthropomorphic or
yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying
or
is,
God's nature?
do we just say God smiles? At the end of the day, God smiled at what I offered him, or did he go like, no, you?
No,
So
when you say
that's where I'm
case,
like,
that was trash.
yeah, because my greatest righteousness is filthy rags. Oh my gosh. So yeah, we're going to get into all kinds of things.
Yeah. So
But-
for someone trying to land
yeah.
the plane, you keep opening Pandora's box of
I know.
concepts.
I know.
You keep on pulling out of that.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, I can't even offer a final thought because you keep pulling threads. And I'm
Right,
like, well, that
right.
sounds fun. Let's
Final
talk about
thought: find some rest. Don't wear your work as a badge of honor, and don't find busyness just to be busy.
Well,
Rest in your relationship with God.
I think it's final thought for me is putting things in the proper position. Sabbath wasn't made for man. Man was made for Sabbath.
No.
Thank you.
Right. I was like,
So,
hold on.
I was purposely doing that, right? So God creates man. And in his infinite wisdom, he creates Sabbath for man.
Yeah.
So if you and I begin to think that we were created for Sabbath, then it becomes a law, fearful, do more, try harder. I've got to do all these things on the Sabbath to prove I'm holy. But if in verse is, no, God gave me a calling and a life, but he said, no, you need to have Sabbath rest. You need to have, in fact, I made this for you for your good. Then anytime we live where we think, no, the badge of honor is the virtue signaling of 80 hours a week or this or that or achievement and accomplishment, and we see all the dysfunctional things in our life where we go after the do more, try harder, be successful, and we look and say, it came at the expense of my personal health, my personal joy, my spiritual maturity. I tore my family down. I was able to buy them nice things, but I don't know them. Like all the things. It's because you missed it. You did it wrong. You didn't understand that God wants us to have rhythms in our lives. And it's hard sometimes to fight against it and just say, no, I need to take this day. I need to sit in the hammock. I need to do the thing because we have been raised, to Bean's point, in a culture of American exceptionalism where we prove our worth by what we do. And we don't have to prove our worth to God. And so in the opposite, God loves us enough to say, in fact, I need you to have time where you do nothing. And again, I'm pretty flexible. I think if you're gardening and that brings great joy to your life, then that can be Sabbath rest. I like yard work. I find a lot of peace in it. So, I think it doesn't have to mean you curl up in a ball and do nothing. It could mean I've had Sabbath rest sitting in a tree stand hunting deer. I've had it on a lake fishing. I've had it in a lot of different ways, taking walks. So, but I think we have to have some way where we detach, decompress. And if for you it's walking in the woods with your family and your dog, and that brings like profound centering and joy to your life, then I'm like, I think that's an aspect of Sabbath rest. That's an idea of just divesting yourself of the competing things of this world that are tugging at us, especially as and I don't mean that chauvinistically, but especially as men, because I think we are raised many times with the idea that achievement proves our worth. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that is a Christian model. And so I say, seek first the kingdom of God, and all these other things will be added unto you. So I just think we need to be mindful. And I say that from a position of like Mike, I can say that boldly, that I'm someone that failed for a lot of years at that. And I still wrestle against it. I still have those moments where I say, you know what? It's a Friday and, people say, when's your day off Friday? Well, I say, well, sometimes, because, and that's truthful, because sometimes things come up and it's invariably, it's Murphy's Law. If there's a Friday in my life that there's nothing there, and I think, okay, that's when I'm going to get the email of someone that's going, man, I really need to meet with you. And it's Friday's the only day that works for me. And my gut reaction more than not as a pastor is to go, okay, I'll make margin for that. And sometimes I think, is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. But I guess I'm just saying transparently, I think it's something that never goes away.
Right.
But so you learn how to fight for it. And I know there's times that's been okay. And I know there's been other times where I've made that choice to meet that person and do that thing. And then I've had a different talk with my wife later where she's like, I'm not mad at you. I just, wish you would have made that choice to protect yourself and or to not take that phone call. Sure. And it's tough.
Yeah.
And so I think it's something I have to, for me, verses like this, I always have to come back and remind myself, God made rest for my good.
Yeah.
And so my good isn't living at 99 the whole time. Mm-hmm. My good is that I have to have downtime. Now, you can't overachieve at the downtime and then, wonder why I can't.
Right.
I've really mastered Sabbath. I can't provide for my family anymore.
So you're going to make me just say this one thing. Like if Friday is my day off, you cannot do you can't reach out to me on Friday. I think then you can become, it's religiosity at that point. And, and so you don't want to do that.
And I've known those guys in ministry that
so,
protect their day to the point of where it's like
you have missed. I desire compassion, not burnt offerings. All that stuff. And so if the main goal is okay, and maybe you can even set boundaries in that. Say, you know what, I can absolutely meet with you. I will give you 1 hour. And do that 1 hour really, really well, you're going to get a lot accomplished. So, but at any rate, sorry, Andy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm all good.
Closing thoughts?
No, my closing thoughts were really just that conviction that I sensed yesterday for myself. But I think that it is super valuable for us to remember that if Sabbath becomes a stressor, then we're doing it wrong.
Amen.
If it's like something that's making us go, I can't do that because it's Sabbath time, right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that's what it means for Sabbath to be for us.
Right.
It's like, if it's something that's making us go, oh man, I dread that I have to do this, then we've got it wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got any closing thoughts, Alec?
I've shared my piece.
Okay. All right.
So Bean, what's the word of the day?
Bellwether was one.
There it is.
What else did we use? There was
I don't know. That's a good one.
American exceptionalism.
I like
yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bellwether, though. Let's go with
Let's go with Bellwether,
Bellwether.
because if people just say, "Oh wow, they're saying American exceptionalism," like,
The American exceptionalism could get me in trouble at
Yes,
some,
it could.
at some
It
level too.
Yeah.
yeah. Bellwether.
We are better. Yeah.
Beans Bellwether.
There it is.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, hey, hopefully you guys have a great week, and hopefully you'll listen to us again. And I do. I'm going to say this at the end. Come as you are. Right?
Yes,
To
yeah.
worship.
As you were, as you want to be,
Yeah. So
as a friend.
but yeah. So we. Anyways,
Always.
appreciate you guys listening, and we will talk
Swear
with
that I
you
don't have a
again
gun.
next week on the Afterwords.
See ya.
Yeah.
See ya.
Peace.
Don't say anything yet until I hit.
As you want me
That's right.
to be.
Suck everybody.